All right. And don't look now, but we're already on to season number 7. And we got Sorensen and Sipowicz on the cover. And we've got Martinez, Medavoy, Russell, and Fancy. So let's open this one up. So hopefully we won't have any more of those discs you got to flip over. Because I like the ones better when we have the labels. Because there's more that can go wrong with a disc that has both sides. Let's see. Yep, we've got 6. So let's check out disc 1. We got Andy Sipowicz. And who's on disc number 2? We've got Danny Sorensen. And let's see, disc 3, looks like we have Detective Russell, and this one came out of the frame again. All right, we'll just do it this way. We got Detective Russell on disc 3. And we got Greg Medavoy on disc 4. And I can never remember Medavoy's partner on disc 5. Well, Medavoy's new partner. And looks like this is Jill on disc number 6. All right, let's do the episode index, or the episode guide. And let's see, what is the background picture? It looks like the same thing. It looks like a nighttime or a darkened picture of the Brooklyn Bridge. And we've got episodes from disc 1. Loogie Nights from January 11th of 2000. Sipowicz and Sorensen investigate the role 2 police officers played in a fatal beating. Kirkendall considers dating her ex-husband, and Medavoy and Martinez arrest a man throwing a horse manure at parade watchers. Oh yeah, there's all kinds of things. I think that was from January 11th of 2000. The next one is a hole-in-one. Again, I love the word play. And that's from January 18th of 2000. After parolee gives Sipowicz and Sorensen the names of 2 of his felon buddies, one of the men turns up dead. Russell and Kirkendall search for answers when an infant's body is found in a dumpster. Jill's ex-husband welcomes the focus of the surveillance operation. And again, there's a lot of disturbing material on this show. The Man with 2 Right Shoes from January 25th of 2000. A man who solicits male prostitutes is found murdered in his hotel room. Russell and Kirkendall pursue a high school teacher who may have had an affair with one of her students. And the last episode on disc 1 is The Naked or Dead from February 1st of 2000. Sipowicz and Sorensen investigate a mass execution. Medavoy and Martinez link a dead man with a broken neck to a break-in at a clothing factory, and Kirkendall's ex-husband is arrested. So on to disc number 2. The first episode is These Shoots Are Made for Joaquin. I love it again. February 8th of 2000. Sipowicz and Sorensen investigate a shooting. Kirkendall is pressured to provide evidence against her ex-husband. Martinez passes the sergeant's exam and wins a promotion. The next one is Brothers Under Arms from February 15th of 2000. Sipowicz and Sorensen try to help 2 brothers involved in a largely accidental shooting. Kirkendall tries to help her ex-husband after he escapes police custody. Martinez has mixed feelings about his last day on the job. And Along Came Jones from February 22nd of 2000 is the last episode on disc 2. The detectives investigate the shooting death of an off-duty police officer. Medavoy gets a new partner. All right, on to disc 3. Everybody Plays the Mule from February 23rd of 2000. A Russian couple export the disappearance of their 2 sons, and Russell and Kirkendall search for answers when a woman is thrown into the path of a bus. The next episode is titled Jackass from February 29th of 2000. Fancy clashes with Jones' former boss during a murder investigation. Sipowicz goes out on a date for the first time since his wife's death. That would be Sylvia, the DA from the earlier episodes. Who Murders Sleep from March 7th of 2000. Sorensen and Sipowicz ask a retired detective for assistance when a skeleton of a young girl is discovered behind a wall. A bullet lodged in a dog's snout becomes the detective's best hope of solving a murder. And the last episode on Disc 3 is Little Abner from March 14th of 2000. The detectives suspect that a jailed mobster may have arranged the murder of a nightclub owner who was having an affair with the mobster's former girlfriend. The suspected rapist claims he can prove his innocence and fancy fears Abner might take his own life. All right, on to Disc 4. Welcome to New York, and this premiered March 21st of 2000. Irwin helps Sorensen and Sipowicz with a case involving the murder of a gay man. Russell and Kirkendall assist a young woman who was gang raped. Man, that's just horrible material. The next one is the Irwin Files from March 28th of 2000. Sipowicz and Sorensen investigate an expensive artwork is stolen from a private collector. A man informs Menavoy and Jones that his wife has disappeared. The next episode is titled Sleepover from April 4th of 2000. A former cop attempts to help Sipowicz and Sorensen solve a murder, while a woman claims her housekeeper's infant died under mysterious circumstances. And the last episode on Disc 4 is Stressed for Success, and that's from April 11th of 2000. Sorensen is saddened by the informant's death. A good-hearted vintage clothing store owner returns from stolen dresses to the right owner. All right, on to Disc 5, Goodbye Charlie, from April 18th of 2000. A white teenager involves his African-American girlfriend in his parents' murder. Menavoy's old friend, a hotel manager, fears that one of his guests is spending a wise guy's money. That's not smart. Roll Out the Barrel, from April 25th of 2000. Mobster investigates the prime suspect when a pregnant woman's body is discovered inside a barrel. Jones befriends a reporter while investigating the case. And on the last episode of Disc 5 is titled Lucky Luciano, May 2nd of 2000. Sipowicz and Sorensen grapple with a particularly perplexing case involving a dead Italian woman, her husband, and the husband's cousin. Russell and Kirkendall attempt to solve the murder of a woman's twin sister. And that's from Disc 5. So going on at Disc 6, the first episode is titled Tea and Sympathy from May 9th of 2000. Retired English detective and his female colleague work with Sipowicz and Sorensen as they track down a serial killer. The next episode is This Old Spouse from May 16th of 2000. Russell fears the worst when Kirkendall's ex-husband, who is thought dead, is seen fraternizing with a member of the police force. Sipowicz and Sorensen attempt to link a series of armed robberies to an ex-con. The detectives target con artists preying on the elderly. The next episode is titled Bats Off to Larry from May 23rd of 2000. Sipowicz begins to fall apart when Theo's health deteriorates. Russell fears that Kirkendall may be aware that Dan is still alive. The two men claim they acted in self-defense when they beat a rapist to death using baseball bats. And the season finale is titled The Last Roundup, and that's from May 23rd of 2000. Fancy tells Russell that Internal Affairs is targeting Kirkendall, and Sipowicz anxiously awaits Theo's bone marrow tests. And that is season 7. And you can see you got Danny Sorensen and Sipowicz on the back. You see the photos. In season 7, an emotionally scarred Andy Sipowicz finds solace in a developing friendship with partner Danny Sorensen. Kirkendall takes steps to reconcile with her ex-husband, and Diane finds herself caught in the middle. And before it's all over, 2 more detectives will leave the 15th squad. So this is season number 7. So on to season number 8. We've got Danny and Sipowicz. We've got the Shield. We've got Smith. We've got John, the receptionist. We've got Menavoy, and we have Russell. let's take a look at these. All right, so fittingly, disc 1, we got Detective Sipowicz. And looks like we got Detective Sorensen on disc number 2. And there is no disc number 3. Let's see, this came out of the frame. There you go, right back into the hinge. There is no disc 3. Oh yeah, there is. So disc number 3 has Detective Russell. And disc number 4, we've got Gordon Clapp as Medavoy. And it looks like his partner, Detective Jones, on disc number 5. So I guess there are only 5 discs in this season. Okay, so disc 1. We got Daveless in New York from January 9th, 2001. The detectives investigate a multiple homicide at a fast food restaurant. An addict gives his baby daughter to a drug dealer as collateral on an overdue loan. Man, that is so sick. Internal Affairs reopens the Kirkendall case. Again, there's a lot of disturbing storylines in this series. The next episode is Waking Up is Hard to Do. You can see the heart. January 16th, 2001. Danny wakes up in Diane's bed. Andy and Katie get Theo's test results. A former colleague of Bobby's reaches out to Diane from prison, and the team investigates a series of cab driver shootings. The next one is Franco, My Dear, I Don't Give a Damn, another play on words, from January 23rd of 2001. A female officer is shot following a stationery store robbery and later dies in a hospital. Danny tries to keep Diane safe, and Katie decides to move back home. The last episode on Disc 1 is titled Family Ties and is from January 30th of 2001. Fancy is being sent on a training course ahead of the squad getting computers. A woman is attacked by a court jester in a hotel room. Then a body is found in another room. Are they connected? Diane questions her involvement with Danny. Alright, on to Disc 2. Fool's Russian. From February 6th of 2001, Diane turns to a friend on the Survivors Network for help. The body is pulled from the water. 2 Chinese men are brought in handcuffed together, and new computers arrive. Again, a sign of the times. They're just getting computers in 2001. The next one is Righting Wrongs from February 13th of 2001. Schoolgirl is found dead, and Andy asks Eddie's niece on a table. Andy asks Eddie's niece on a date. John babysits Theo for the first time. Again, John is such a nice guy. Incidentally, February 13th of 2001 is the week after the Super Bowl where my Patriots went on to become a dynasty. Okay, that's another video. Next video is The In-Laws Outlaws, and that's from February 20th of 2001. A homeless guy whom Danny was trying to protect turns up dead. The DOA's father is concerned about the trust fund his sister will now inherit. And the last episode on Disc 2 is titled Russellmania. Again, the play on words. February 27th of 2001. Fancy balls out Diane and Danny about being in a relationship. A man traveling on a subway is killed, and Denby is implicated in the courier scam. Okay, let's go to Disc 3. And the first episode was from March 6th of 2001, called Oh Golly Goff. Danny could be in big trouble for roughing up a suspect. Detective Connie McDowell joins the team for the day. And the next episode is in Still of the Night. Danny is restored to full duty. Szymanski's cousin is knocked down in the street and killed. Bass's wife is injured during a robbery at her store. And Greg plays matchmaker. The next episode on Disc 3 is titled Peeping Tommy. And that's from March 20th of 2001. Andy witnesses a holdup in a street and shoots the getaway car. Ross is assigned to fill in a squad again. The final episode on Disc 3 is titled Thumb Enchanted Evening. And that was from March 27th of 2001. Fancy makes captain, and the incoming lieutenant is a ball breaker. And he is having second thoughts about Cynthia. Mob hitman sings like a canary and implicates a celebrated customs officer. All right, on to disc number 4. Flight of Fancy from April 3rd of 2001. A man caught carrying a cash register takes Andy and Danny to a body. Fancy is packed up to leave. His replacement alienates the squad before he's even left. Yeah, that's not a likable guy that takes over for Fancy. The next one is Nariz, and from April 10th of 2001. Rodriguez meditates when Sipowicz and Sorensen clash with detective from another squad. Menavoy and Jones try their hand at making extra cash by cleaning up a murder scene. And the final episode on disc 4 is Everyone into the Pool. Oh, I'm sorry, we got one before that. Love Hurts from April 17th of 2001. Sipowicz and Sorensen investigate a case involving an off-duty police officer who was shot in the company of a prostitute. Menavoy and Jones aid a helpless bodega owner by concocting a story to keep him out of jail. And now, the last episode on disc 4 is Everyone into the Pool from April 24th of 2001. Jones and Menavoy investigate the murder of a Chinese restaurant owner. An IRS agent claims to have been kidnapped and released, but Sipowicz and Sorensen doubt his story. Disc number 5, Dying to Testify, is the first episode on the disc from April 1st of 2001. Sipowicz and Sorensen try to get a scared witness to identify a murder suspect, while Russell and McDowell guard another witness who is due to testify in a murder trial. The next one is Lost Time from May 8th of 2001. Sipowicz and Sorensen investigate the murder of an exotic dancer. Sipowicz and Menavoy act as an elderly decoy to catch some street thieves attacking old people outside of a local bank. And that's when Menavoy makes a joke about Andy looking old and fitting the part. He better watch out, because Andy could probably kick his butt if he wanted to. Next episode is Undercovers, and that's from May 15th of 2001. Sipowicz and Sorensen investigate the murder of a drug dealer. Sorensen continues to see the stripper, who draws him into the favor with the owners of a Talafeathers club. And the last episode of the season is In the Wind, and that was from May 22nd of 2001. Sorensen is missing, and a stripper is found murdered in his apartment. Menavoy and Jones investigates a killing, but the suspect identified by an eyewitness has seemingly unshakable alibis. Season 8 finds the detectives of the 15th Precinct coping with some of their most intense cases yet, but the biggest challenge might come from inside the precinct itself. As an increasingly frustrated detective, Sorensen begins to exhibit signs of unraveling. New arrivals at the squad room are met with suspicion, while some old friends make their exit, including their beloved leader, Lieutenant Fancy. All right, on to Season 9. Already onto Season 9. And again, guys, this is a long video. I'm sorry for doing this, but this series deserves the respect of going through each of the discs and the episodes. We've got Jones. I can't remember her, though she's really one of my favorite characters. Can't remember her name. And we got Menavoy. Let's just open it up, because we have new arrivals for Season 9. And got the same thing with all the discs. Let's see how many discs are in Season 9. Alright. Disc 1. Andy Sipowicz. Of course, we have to have Andy leading the way, right? Alright. We got Disc 2. And we've got, let's see, it came out of the hinge again. We got Disc 3. She's got the most beautiful eyes. All right, let's move on to disc number 4. And let's see, who's on disc number 5? Looks like Detective Jones. Alright, let's go through the episodes. Alright, disc number 1 is the first episode is Lie Like a Rug. And that's from November 6th of 2001. Sipowicz and McDowell's investigation into the murders of a woman and her children bring them into contact with a young narcotics officer. Medavoy and Baldwin pick up a perp who has information on Danny's whereabouts. And again, it's not good to be Danny at this point. Next episode is Johnny Got His Gold from November 6th of 2001. A shootout with a hired killer in the streets of New York turns Andy into an unlikely and unlikable hero. Rodriguez wants justice after his elderly mother is robbed. And that was from November 6th, like I said. Moving on, The Two Clarks in a Bar. It's from 11/13/2001. And Clark's first day with Andy and Connie could be his last. After his dad butts into the trio's burglary homicide case, the junkie leads Baldwin and Medavoy on a twisted search for an arsonist who may have killed to get a priceless guitar. Next episode is Hit the Road, Clark, and that's from November 20th of 2001. Sipowicz and Clark clash over how to handle the confusing confession of a killer who took the life of an unstable prison guard. McDowell is compelled to break into the squad's newest hire on a case of a dead woman who may have been done in by a family member. And the last episode on disc 1 is Cops and Robber, and that's 11/27/2001. Sipowicz helps his new partner avoid Rodriguez's wrath by heading the hunt of a dirtbag who's using Clark's stolen badge in a series of robberies. Meanwhile, Connie gets a taste of her sidekick's dark side when dealing with a lewd mother linked to a homicide. And on to disc number 2. We've got first episode titled Baby Love from December 4th of 2001. Jones and Medavoy face a grim task about foreign affairs in New York after someone sets fire to a shop owned by 2 Arab merchants. Connie's past comes back to haunt her as she and Andy search for a baby stolen from the hospital. And Eddie's cousin calls in a favor to get him some help for a problem he won't confess to. Next one is titled Mom's Away from December 11th of 2001. McDowell uses her pull at the precinct to meet the daughter she gave up at birth by busting the kid for smoking pot. Andy gets the alien Eddie a promotion by downplaying his role in bringing down a murderous drug lord, and Jones leads the hunt after a victim of the September 11 terrorist attacks turns up far away from ground zero. Yes, they actually did. They put that into the storylines. The next episode is titled Puppy Love from December 18th of 2001. Medavoy cooks up a quick cash scheme as he and Jones try to collar a puppy napper. Detective Rita Ortiz joins the squad in time to help McDowell hunt down a killer and an illegal immigrant. And Sipowicz steps into Eddie's old security job and finds that he is no one's guard dog. Next one is Here Comes the Sun, and that's from January 8th of 2002. Bad blood between Andy and Clark's dad spills onto John when the trio is forced to work together in a rash of holdups going down in massage parlors. Haywood breaks some alarming news to Jones, and Ortiz's husband asks Rodriguez for a favor. On to Jealous Heart, the last episode of Disc 2, and that's from January 15th of 2002. A snitch who buried Danny's body comes forward with info on another crime. Connie's blind date gets under Andy's skin. Haywood begs Baldwin for more time before deciding the fate of their unborn baby. And on to Disc 3, we got Humpty Dumped from February 5th of 2002. Andy's moonlighting work sheds new light on one of Miss Hornsby's most trusted employees. Rita catches her husband in the act Haywood finally decides about the baby after her shaky mental state gets two college students killed. Next episode on Disc 3 is Oh Mama, and that's February 19th of 2002. A dead teen leads Sipowicz and Clark to a trio of high schoolers, two with differing alibis and one with a very different reason to confess. Jones and Medavoy's partnership is tested. McDowell makes her move on the unsuspecting Sipowicz. The next episode is Safari So Good from February 26th of 2002. The murder of a paroled convict keeps Sipowicz too busy to deal with the fallout from his late-night lip lock with confused McDowell. Jones and Haywood are dealt a crushing blow, and a charity-minded doctor ends up paying for his less-than-civic dealings with a teenage hooker. The next episode is titled Hand Job from March 5th of 2002. Clark tries to help a fellow cop who may know a bit about Rapper's murder. Ortiz and McDowell have their hands full when two grisly crucifixions, Jones and Haywood, dance around each other in the wake of their tragic loss, and Sipowicz makes McDowell an offer she can't refuse or completely understand. The last episode on Disc 3 is titled Guns and Hoses. A murder case takes an eerie turn after the DOA turns out to be a face from Rita's past. Andy and Clark investigate an abortion clinic bombing. Jones and Medavoy pick up a lead on a woman who has been missing for 5 years. And on to Disc 4. The first episode is titled A Little Dad'll Do Ya, and that's from, March 19th of 2012. March 19th of 2002. Squad members land in hot water trying to defend themselves from a rape victim's rampaging boyfriend. A teen is found dead and not too missed back home. John Irvin struggles to make peace with his dying, homophobic father, and Clark asks Andy to call in a favor and find a sexually molested youth a foster home. The next episode is Gypsy Woes Me, and that's from March 26th of 2002. Andy tries to help a cop bashing cabbie after 3 of his former affairs were killed. Clark signs up for the charity boxing match to defend Ortiz's honor. Internal Affairs sets a trap for Tony, and John has a heartbreaking decision to make. The next episode is Les Amore from April 16th of 2002, where Sipowicz digs up a dirty little secret that could derail Internal Affairs' case against Tony. Clark sets up his training for the boxing match, and a botched armor car robbery brings snitch Julian Pisano back into the squad's services. The next episode was titled Low Blow, and that's from April 30th of 2002. Clark finally gets a shot at the ring. A woman can't remember if a rapist is the same one accused of attacking his own wife, and a bogus doctor pays with his life for a botched operation. And we move on to disc number 5. This is Oedipus Wrecked, and this is from April 7th of 2002. Tony scrambles to avoid a tragedy after an unstable suspect takes Andy hostage. Medavoy's daughter asks her father an unfortunate favor regarding her wedding guest list. And a drug dealer sells out his mother to keep from going back to prison. The next episode is Dead Meat in New Delhi, and that's May 14th of 2002. The investigation of the Delhi owner's murder is muddled by a witness, ever-changing account of the meddling of a cop from another division. Word of McDowell's vacation, and Sipowitz's boy raises eyebrows, and Ortiz sees the upside of dating a co-worker. And the season finale is titled Better Laid Than Never. And that's from May 21st of 2002. The 15th Precinct races to save a missing 12-year-old from an online predator. Clark decides it's time for Ortiz to meet his dad. Meanwhile, McDowell takes Sipowicz to task to task over his fear of moving forward with their romance. Haywood has a hard time accepting Baldwin's easy way with a new face at the station, and John gets wind of windfall coming his way. Season 9 finds Andy Sipowicz experiencing several dramatic developments in his life, including a long overdue promotion, supervising new romance with Detective Connie McDowell, and a new partner in the form of John Clark. 2001 terrorist attacks in New York City are also employed into the series, reflecting the evolving emotions about our public safety as well as the steadfast strength and dedication of law enforcement officers in the wake of those real-life events. And that was season 9. And now we're on to season 10. John, Andy, we got the new lieutenant, we got Connie Medavoy, and I'm not remembering her name right off the bat. All right, let's check out these discs. Again, we've got Sipowicz. Who else on disc number 1? And we got John. Is that John? Yeah, that's John on disc number 2. And is that Connie? Yeah. Absolutely gorgeous Connie on disc number 3. And disc number 4, I'm not really, I really can't recall her name. And let's see, who's on disc 5? Oh, that looks like Detective Jones. Alright, so starting with disc 1, we've got the series premiere, the season premiere, titled Hoedown, and that's from September 24th of 2002. As the temperature rises, Andy becomes a marked man after a run with a drug dealer's girl. Internal Affairs targets Clark after he turns up a dead hooker's datebook. Elsewhere, Jones and Medavoy investigate a rash of home invasions, and Connie makes herself at home with the Sipowicz boys. Next episode is titled You've Got Mail, and that's from October 1st of 2002. Terror Squad. The squad fears terrorism after the judge and lawyer receive a letter bomb filled with white powder. Internal Affairs puts on squeeze on Clark to rat out Andy, and Jones gets back into the dating pool. Next episode is One in the Nuts. That's from October 8th of 2002. While Andy heads to hunt for the gunman, a few of the guys grab Connie's scummy brother-in-law for a little chat about his mistreatment of her pregnant sister. Meanwhile, Baldwin gets down to the business of pleasure. Next one is Meet Me in the Park, Meet, M-E-A-T, and that's from October 15th of 2002. The hunt for an abducted girl is thrown off track by the arrest of Connie's brother-in-law and murder of the NBA prospect's girlfriend. And the last episode on disc 1 is titled Death by Cycle, and that's from October 22nd of 2002. Connie's sister pays a steep price for following her husband's ways. Meanwhile, Medavoy has a score to settle with a suspect who may have killed a teen for his high-end bicycle. All right, on to disc 2. First episode is Maya con Dios, and that's from October 29th of 2002. Jones faces a sticky situation after witness accounts clash with Maya's version of the shootout that killed her partner. Clark fears his dad is working with Internal Affairs, and kidnapping case takes an unexpected turn. The next episode from November 12th of 2002 is titled Das Boot. A dead hooker's cell phone gives Sipowicz and Clark a lead on a man who may have also iced a co-ed. Tony's ex returns to make amends for past indiscretions, and Jones and Medavoy force a confession out of a kid who claims of innocence may be actually true. The next episode is Below the Belt from November 19th of 2002. The murder of an auxiliary officer triggers a precinct witch hunt after her diary spills the sexy secrets of various cops from the 15th. Jones helps Hayward catch a scam artist preying on her doting grandmother, and Rodriguez settles into a new routine with his ex-wife. We got the next episode titled Half-Ashed from November 26th of 2002. The squad must sift through a dead social worker's depressing caseload to see which of her clients could be disgruntled enough to kill. Meanwhile, Andy tries to fulfill a late cop's final wish amid accusations that he and John are rats. You know that's just not the case. And the last episode on Disc 2 is titled Healthy McDowell Movement. And that's December 10th of 2002. While preparing to move into Connie's place, a frenzied Andy helps Clark Sr. escape from IA's control. Meanwhile, Ortiz and McDowell work a shrink who may hold a clue to the death of a sexually voracious young woman. And now we move on to Disc 3. The first episode is titled I Kid You Not, from January 7th of 2003. Tony faces a grim assignment after visiting a crime scene involving a very familiar face. Connie pegs a social worker for the death of a baby, and a carjacking case leads Andy and John to a brother-sister drug-running team. Next episode, Arrested Development, from January 14th of 2002. Andy and Connie bring tensions from home into the station house. Stabbing a fitness freak sends Jones and Medavoy after the victims of a guy's going gung-ho harassment. And when a mom is murdered, her son's fiancé looks like not-so-blushing bride-to-be. The next episode is Bottoms Up, and that's from February 4th of 2003. Andy leans on a fellow cop for the truth about John's arrest, but he closes in on a clue that could clear his partner. The case takes a grim turn that could keep Clark behind bars for good. Meanwhile, Connie and Rita try to stay focused on stopping a serial rapist. And the last episode on Disc 3 is titled Laughing All the Way to the Clink. And that, let's see, is from February 11th of 2003. Andy hits pay dirt when a scared cop who knows little something about the guy who had John set up on bogus charges. Meanwhile, a pair of homicides and a pack of lying suspects have the officers chasing dead-end leads. Let's see, on to disc number 4. And the episode, first one on, is Tranny Get Your Gun from February 18th of 2003. A married man who reports a mugging has laid a place in a hotel room where a transvestite prostitute was murdered. Meanwhile, the father of an 18-year-old Pakistani woman doesn't seem particularly distraught over her murder. Another play on words, the next episode is titled Nude Awakening from February 25th of 2003. An attempt on a life of Andy's most annoying snitch leads to a trail of clues that leaves the poor guy wishing he were dead. John's father makes a move to improve his lot in life, but only destroys his son in the process. Off the Wall, from April 8th of 2003, John incites a public protest in an IA investigation after an errant bullet claims a teenage bystander. Meanwhile, Clark's grief has heartbreaking consequences for Ortiz, who has her hands full with a homicide. The last episode on Disc 4 is titled Marine Life, and that's from April of 2003. While Clark and Sipowicz investigate the murder of a music industry angel with a devilfish reputation, Jones and Medavoy look to attempted slaying of Russian mail-order brides. Moving on to disc number 5, we've got Meet the Grandparents, and that's from April 29th of 2003. Jones considers drastic and deadly actions for Valerie's stalker, sends her to the ER. Andy and Connie scramble to save their family after the grandparents of her sister's baby file for custody, and a teenager considers taking the fall for a homicide from his homicidal mentor. The next episode is titled Maybe Baby, and that's from May 6th of 2003. And the evidence leads Jones to a lowlife who may be sitting on information about Valerie's assault. Connie tracks down Frank's sister, and a murder puts Andy back in touch with an old and off-the-wagon friend from AA. The next titled episode is called Yo Adrian. It's pretty cool. And that's from May 13th of 2003. Detective Diane Russell returns to help Andy coerce a confession out of the one person who could affect the outcome of Connie's custody battle. Meanwhile, Clark's budding romance with Dr. Delvin is soured by the differing takes on police brutality. And the season finale, the episode is 22 Cisco, from May 20th of 2003, and that's where Andy and Connie try to hide their impending nuptials from their 15th higher-ups. Meanwhile, bitter Gulf War vet leads the squad on a wild goose chase, and Ortiz makes a bold move to get over the failed romance with Clark. This season, the men and women of the 15th Squad find themselves under pressure from within as Internal Affairs investigates Detective John Clark when his name turns up in a murdered prostitute's little black book. Outside the station house, Connie McDowell, developing a relationship with Andy, uncovers new challenges. Sipowicz strains to maintain his personal life and clear Clark's name, but to do the latter, he needs to call on an old friend, Detective Diane Russell. Guest star Kim Delaney, reprising her Emmy Award-winning role. And that was season 10. Moving on to season 11. Let's see, is that Clark and Sipowicz? And we got Connie, we got Jones, Medavoy, and I can't remember her name right now. All right, let's take a look at the discs. Nice. As been the trend, we got Detective Sipowicz on disc number 1. John. On disc number 2. Let's see, where's disc number 3? And again, I know that's the new DA, but I can't remember her name right now. Disc number 4, we have John, the secretary for the squad. And it looks like Detective Jones. Yep. All right, let's take a look at the episodes. All right, so disc 1, the first episode of season 11 is titled Frickin' Fracker, and that's from September 23rd of 2003. Andy faces an old foe and some older demons during Faker's trial for gunning down Rodriguez. Meanwhile, the murder of a child molester's brother leads the squad to a pair of suspects with more than enough reasons to kill. Next episode is Your Bust, Ted, and that's from September 30th of 2003. Sinclair twists Tony's testimony against his own shooter to cast a dark light on the alleged misdeeds of the 15th Precinct. Meanwhile, a transgender woman's married lover comes under fire for murder, and mugging that ends a doctor's career leads to a repeat offender who cops to more crimes than he should. Sheer Stupidity is the next episode, which premiered on October 7th, 2003. Sinclair, in a surprise character witness, the discreet Haywood's closing arguments in Fraker's case. Meanwhile, a woman begs Andy and John to find her missing husband. And a barber begs innocence after the partner he's into for $10,000 is brutally assaulted. The next episode is titled Porn Free, October 14th of 2003. The jury returns with a verdict in Fraker's trial, and the murder of a soccer mom leads to startling revelation about her past. Jones reaches out to a young boy after his mother is killed. And the last episode on Disc 1 is called Keeping Abreast, and that's October 21st of 2003. Diane returns to help the precinct track the serial rapist, but her own private demons turn the reunion into one hell of a drama. Meanwhile, Jones struggles to balance work with his new friendship, and Clark puts his foot down with Delvin. So moving on to Disc 2, we got Andy Appleseed, and that was from, October 28th of 2003. Andy and Diane nail an unusual suspect in a serial rapist case, and Delvin finally explains her off-the-wall behavior to a stunned Clark. Connie receives jaw-dropping info from both Diane and her own doctor. It's To Die For, the next episode from November 4th of 2003. The squad is forced to re-evaluate their investigation of a series of sexual assaults. Meanwhile, a cop's big secret keeps Baldwin and Greg from closing the case, and Diane reaches out to Connie. The next one is And the Winner Is, from November 18th of 2003. The squad catches a truly disturbing break in a serial rapist case. Andy and Connie decide to proceed with their long-delayed wedding, which turns into an even bigger cause for celebration after Diane's doctor calls. Only Schmucks Pay Income Tax is the next episode, and that premiered November 25th of 2003. Andy makes it his personal business to collar the men who mugged a retired officer and his wife. Tax-dodging author pays for taking someone else off, and Sipowicz, their new neighbors, makes a pest of himself. The last episode on Disc 2 is titled You da Bomb, and that's from February 10th, 2004. Andy's mettle is tested after a desperate father carrying a bomb cuffs himself to Connie. Meanwhile, John and Delvin's romance takes a turn for the worst, thanks to negative side effects by the antidepressants. We move on to Disc 3 now. Passing the Stone. The murder of a jeweler turns into a hate crime investigation. Meanwhile, Jones takes the lead when Michael's father falls under suspicion for the beating of a boy's aunt. Let's see. We got Chatty Chatty Bang Bang from March 2nd of 2004. Andy and John realize that someone other than the cops may be after a hit-and-run driver who killed a mobster's daughter. And Tony makes a decision about his future. Jones agrees to formally take in Michael. The next one is Take My Wife, Please, and that's from March 9th of 2004. An officer falls under suspicion in the murder of his wife's lover. Meanwhile, Jones and Medavoy connect a not-so-stand-up guy to the death of a comedy club owner. The last episode on Disc 3 is called Colonel Knowledge, and that's from March 16th of 2004. Teenager holds a possible key to his girlfriend's disappearance. A gang leader is a suspect when one of his rivals is taken out, and Gibson's annoying parrot takes up residence in the station. Alright, let's move on to Disc 4. First episode is titled Old Yeller, and that's from March 23rd of 2004. Kidnapping victim starting statement clues Andy and John in on a serial sadist. Meanwhile, the routine robbery investigation takes a saucy turn for Medavoy after he makes an unlikely connection with the victim. Next episode is titled On the Fence, and that's from March 30th of 2004. At Murder at a Fleabag Hotel leaves Jones and Medavoy with a list of leads, all pointing to a club, the kid who conveniently disappeared. Meanwhile, Sipowicz recruits Clark to get the goods on Hatcher. Next episode is In Goddess We Trust, and that's from, and look again how they spell trust, In Goddess We Trust, and that's from April 6th of 2004. Andy's off duty and slightly underhanded activities lands him on a transfer out of the 15th precinct and into the city morgue. Meanwhile, the squad is tied up with a punishing case where the dominatrix is found murdered. And the last episode on Disc 4 is called The Brothers Grimm, and that's from April 13th of 2004. Ortiz gets a new partner who ends up lending an unusual hand during the search for a child of an ex-con. And Haywood reopens an 18-year-old case that has Andy reliving a major mistake in his career. Alright, moving on to disc number 5. The first episode, which premiered April 20th of 2004, is titled Peeler. I Hardly Knew Her. A man's gunshot-induced amnesia causes Jones and Medavoy to concoct an unconventional way to nail his assailant, and Ortiz and Ronson uncover a gruesome underground network for pedophiles. The next one is Trailer Trash, again a play on words, Traylor, and that's from April 27th of 2004. A reformed junkie murder has Andy fearing that the father of a victim, a long close case, may have enacted revenge. Meanwhile, Clark is rattled by a visit from Delvin. The next episode is titled What's Your Poison? And that's from May 4th of 2004. And this episode has a face from Clark's past makes an unwelcome return, while the key suspect in Andy's 18-year-old murder case turns up face down. Jones helps Michael prepare to take the stand against his own father, and a man fears his wife is going to lose her head after he loses her expensive necklace. And the last episode of the season finale is titled Who's Your Daddy? And that's from May 11th of 2004. Nothing can stop Andy from working on a murder of a woman whose former current husbands can't provide clear alibis. Baldwin steps over the line after Michael's dad is cleared. Ronson puts an informant at risk, and Clark spirals downward in the wake of Jen's latest setback. Co-created by television legend Stephen Bochco from Hill Street Blues, Cop Rock, and they should have put Columbo, and David Milch Deadwood, long-running NYPD Blue was a perennial hit and a powerful and often controversial series for over a decade on network television. Its 11th season maintains the gritty, character-driven procedural drama that has made it a touchstone for a generation of television addicts. All right. Don't look now, guys, but we're on the final season. So this is season 12 of NYPD Blue, the final season. All right, let's take a look. All right, let's take a look at the final season discs. Guess who's on disc number 1? And look, don't look now, but Andy's smiling. That's the first time we see him smile on any of the pictures. His partner, John, on disc 2. Disc number 3 is that very unlikable lieutenant. On the left hand, I don't remember his name. He's not a very likable guy. Let's see. Disc number 4. Actually, this one came off the hinges too, so let's just put that back in. Disc number 4. And I can't remember her name offhand. Let's see who's on disc number 5. It's been Jones, but nope. This time it's Medavoy. All right, so let's check out the series finale, the last season. So we go to disc 1, and it's titled Dress for Success. And that came out on September 21st of 2004. A flirty detective joins the squad as the hunt for the doctor's killer exposes one suspect's deepest secret. Meanwhile, Andy's issues with John's drinking pale in comparison to his clashes with his new boss and the realization that someone is out to get him. Fish out of water, is the next episode, and that's from September 28th of 2004. The murder of a pregnant ex-con exposes an adoption scam. Rita tries and fails to mend fences with Murphy, and Bale shows his true colors to the squad. Clark crosses a major line, the woman connected to a case, and Andy begins lining up suspects after his fish tank is vandalized. That's just not cool. The next one was titled Great Balls of Ire, and that was from October 12th of 2004. After his stranger targets Theo, Andy begins to fear that his tormentor may be someone from the extensive list of his past and present enemies. Meanwhile, tensions between Ortiz and Murphy force the two to reconsider their partnership, and Bale adds another name to his list of station house sinners. The last episode on Disc 1 is titled Divorce Detective Style, and that's from October 19th of 2004. Evidence in a phone sex operator's murder revealed the truth behind what appeared to be an unrelated abduction. Meanwhile, Bale calls in internal affairs after a shady package arrives for Andy, and John's fling with the murderer witness costs him both conviction and a partner. Moving on to Disc 2, You're Bugging Me is the first episode, and that's from October 26th of 2004. Andy takes a bullet, possibly meant for someone else, triggering a wild goose chase that reveals the truth about his stalker. Clark's off-duty dissent and Bale's devotion to the job. Meanwhile, Jones, Ortiz, and Murphy let loose in the weakest link on the squad. November 9th of 2004, the episode The Vision Thing. A pair of random stabbings have a disturbing effect on Andy, who has a change of heart about partnering with Clark. Medavoy struggles to prove his worth in an off-duty gig as a bouncer. John Irvin offers Ortiz and Murphy the inside dish on the antique dealer following robbery charges. And let's see, the next episode is My Dinner with Andy, and that's from November 16th of 2004. When Michael's shady father resurfaces, Jones fears that he may have to go above the law to protect his foster son. Bale busts Medavoy for moonlighting. The brutal beating of a key murder witness spells trouble for Andy and Clark. The next episode, the last one on Disc 2, is I Like Ike, from November 23rd of 2004. Jones begins to look suspicious after his foster son vanishes. Medavoy faces the music for his side job. Clark offers to guard material witnesses whose testimony could cost her everything. And we're going on to Disc 3 now. The 3H Club premiered November 30th of 2004. Jones is forced to prove his innocence after Michael's father is shot to death. A detective from another squad gets too involved in Ortiz and Murphy's hunt for a child molester, and Medavoy pays the price for moonlighting. The next episode is titled The Dead Donald, and that's from December 7th of 2004. Bale plays dirty with the desperate dad of a teen busted for buying drugs from a dealer suspected of murder. Meanwhile, Andy awaits the results of the sergeant's exam. Medavoy takes a shine to a woman burned by a con man. Next episode is titled Bail Out, and that's from December 14th of 2004. Evidence found in a con man's apartment clues Andy into something Bale might not want known. Clark agrees to escort Laurie Munson to a work dinner being thrown for a shady judge. The shooting of a lawyer has Murphy and Ortiz on the case. The last episode on Disc 3 is titled I Love My Wives, But Oh You Kid, and that's from December 21st of 2004. A married man with too many women in his life comes under suspicion when one of them meets an ugly end. Medavoy tries his hand at real estate and ends up closing a deal of another kind. Andy is called in to mount an undercover sting on a killer preying on newly sober women. So now we're already on to Disc 4. Stooley with a twist. And that's from January 11th of 2005. Now we're already up to 2005. Murphy and Ortiz wind up in a sticky situation after going undercover to catch a serial killer. One of Clark's former conquests factors into the murder of a suspected steroids dealer and nearly sidelines his romance with the ADA. The next episode is titled Stratosphere. Again, look at the play on words, S-T-R-A-T-I-S, F-E-A-R. And that's from January 18th of 2005. Ortiz is caught between her job and a hard place when she learns that narcotics squad is targeting her cousin's beau. The death of a paralyzed man's wife leads to Jones interrogating a retired cop. Andy and Clark investigate the murder of an immigrant who had a very way with the ladies. The next episode is titled La Bamba, and that's from January 25th of 2005. The daughter of an executive killed in a car bomb explosion offers Clark and Sipowicz a different take on a suspect that may have written off too quickly. Meanwhile, Ortiz and Murphy uncover the sad facts about a dead prep. The prep school student after his girlfriend comes forward with some background on their relationship. Another play on words is the last episode on Disc 4. It's titled Old Man Quiver, and that's from February 1st of 2005. Andy's first case as a sergeant has him dealing with the fatal smothering of an aged millionaire and the DOA's too lively young bride. Meanwhile, Munson introduces Clark to her most formidable father. And we're on to Disc 5 now, and that's Sergeant Sipowicz Lonely Hearts Club Band, and that's from February 8th of 2005. As Andy settles into his new role, the 15th finds his absence unsettling, especially after Clark is teamed up with a hair-triggered military officer on the murder of an army man. Meanwhile, Jones and Medavoy search for a missing homeless man. Lenny Scissorhands is the next episode from February 15th of 2005. Andy finds himself back among his friends at the 15th after a botched bust sends a co-worker to the ICU. Medavoy faces his last day on the job with a healthy dose of second thoughts. The cops claim that he was shot by a perp doesn't sit well with Ortiz and Murphy. The next one is titled Bail to the Chief, and that's from February 22nd of 2005. As the hunt for Bale's shooter leads the squad to the head of a Russian prostitution ring, a fallen lieutenant himself makes Andy an officer that could change the 15th forever. Meanwhile, a tragic twist emerges during Ortiz and Murphy's investigation into the murder of a Muslim woman. Now, that was a really awesome episode because at Greg Medavoy's retirement party, the captain actually makes Andy Sipowicz head of the squad and promotes him to lieutenant. It was really awesome. The last episode of this series is from March 1st of 2005, and it's titled Moving Day. In the series finale, Andy risks his career to nab a real killer of a high-end hooker after an immunity-protected diplomat gives a confession that belies the evidence in the case. Meanwhile, two eager new detectives join the squad to fill a pair of recently vacated slots. And that was the final season. Created by Stephen Bochco and David Milch, NYPD Blue delivered an impressive 12-year run and left behind a legacy as one of television's most honored, respected, and controversial series. A sterling example of the police procedure drama. The series garnered over 80 Emmy nominations over its lifespan and was named one of the best television shows of all time by TV Guide in 2013. Starring Dennis Franz, Mark Paul Gosselaar, Gordon Clapp, Henry Simmons, Jacqueline Obradors, Bill Brottrup, Curry Graham, Bonnie Somerville, NYPD Blue's final 20 episodes sent the men and women of the 15th Squad off in grand style, ensuring that this final season maintains a high standard set by all that had come before it. Complete your collection with one of television's truly arresting classics with NYPD Blue, the final season. And again, this series, if you guys are curious about this series, I hope I piqued your interest a little bit. This is an absolutely amazing series. It's got so much disturbing material in it, but the whole purpose of it is not to be disturbing, it's to be realistic. And it's just, I'm sorry, this video is like horrendously long. If you did watch all the way to the end, thank you so much. This series is amazing, and it deserved the respect of going through each DVD and each episode. So my friends, this is NYPD Blue. 12 seasons, fantastic show. It just, I can't say enough about this. This is my second, I love this series. It's only second to Star Trek, in my opinion. So if you guys get a chance to check it out, if you want to go and get the whole season, or the whole series, or if you want to start by season 1, they do sell all the seasons individual. But if you like cop dramas, you're going to absolutely love this series. So my friends, I thank you for watching. And again, I'm sorry about the length, but if I get a good review for this, I'll show you guys my Sopranos, the box set. That's pretty cool as well. So my friends, until my next video, I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much for watching.